Hello everyone, good morning. How are you today? Kelsey Mashad here, health and life coach, and I help people to gain control of emotional eating so they can gain control of emotional eating and actually quit dieting and just feel confident in themselves and the choices that they make. So today we're talking about 10 reasons intuitive eating isn't working for you and how it actually can. Okay, so if you come on, please say hello. If you're catching the replay, hashtag replay. And if you have any questions, let me know. Pop it in the comments. So, you know that diet wagon? You can fall on and off of it so many times, that dreaded diet culture. But with intuitive eating, it's not something that you can really fail at. And a lot of people fear it because of the unknown or because of not having so many strict rules around it. But personally, that's the nice thing about it. And why we think we're failing sometimes is because we're always having to measure our food and measure the experience that we're having. Hi Tanya, how are you? Good morning. So this is something that comes with diet industry standards. So if we aren't losing weight while we're eating intuitively, then we feel like it's not working for us. So then, if we're going to end up gaining weight, we feel like it's not working for us too. So it can get really confusing and it can be difficult at first, but trust me, slow down, give yourself some time and patience, because I'd like to see you work to release these thoughts, okay? These thoughts that just are not working for us, and be able to actually trust your body, and let your body take the lead. So at some point you will, you're going to stop eating. When you're eating something, you're not just going to just endlessly eat nonstop. At some point you'll stop, right? And you're going to feel satisfied with what you've eaten. And at some point, you're going to crave the foods that you absolutely love, like pizza, ice cream, whatever your thing is. And at some point, you'll be amazed at what your body can do all on its own. Tanya, I eat when I'm bored. Yeah, I hear you. A lot of people do, and a lot of people hear you too, because that is very, very common. And the thing of that is if you're feeling, okay, if you're bored and you're not really hungry, then the thing is let's find something else that you can actually do. Instead of you're feeling bored and you've maybe gotten into a habit of feeling like going to kind of look through the cupboards or the fridge and let's see what there is that I can munch on. Create some new habits. And at first, it's not just gonna go like that and be like, all right, I'm bored, I'm not gonna eat now. It'll take some time, but when you create these new habits, then what happens is over time, say for example, if you find something that you like to do instead when you're bored, let's I don't know, any example, I like to go for a walk. I love to go for a walk. If I can get up and go for a walk, or even just sit down with a good book, one or the other, I would absolutely love that. If I'm feeling like, okay, I don't have anything to do, this is what I can do instead. So once I start doing that more on a regular basis, then all of a sudden it turns into that's my habit. The minute I say, okay, I'm bored, I'm not feeling like, I feel like I want to do something, or I feel like I need something. Well, sometimes that need, there's a need that's not satisfied for you. Could be some self-care that you need. A nice long hot bubble bath, give yourself a nice facial, little pedicure or something for yourself. So those are the things, when you're bored, you need to try to see if you can find something else that you do like. There's things you like. There's tons of things that you like. You can't say that there's nothing that you would rather be doing. So then at that point, try to, go do whatever that is. And then the more you do it on a regular basis, the more you're going to turn to that instead of turning to food. And like I said, it takes time at first because your body and your brain aren't used to doing that. You're used to thinking food because you're bored, and it's gotten into that habit. So it's time to rewire that thinking with something new, okay? So I hope that helped. Let me know if you have any questions. So, like I said, because at some point you're not going to just keep on eating until you to the end of time. You have to stop at some point. And, you're going to be so amazed at what your body can really do. So today I want to address these 10 intuitive eating points where you may be struggling with intuitive eating, or maybe you felt at some point or another that maybe it wasn't for you. So intuitive eating, it isn't for you maybe because you can't feel your hunger. So if you've been dieting, you've grown accustomed to just all of these external cues, like, okay, it's noontime, it's lunchtime, right? Rather than actually listening to your internal hunger cue. Good morning, Antoinette, how are you? Thanks for coming on. So, and then on top of that, dieting is actually teaching you to not listen to your hunger and fullness cues, all those signals, and it's teaching you instead to focus on things like numbers and portions and points and calories and all of those kinds of things. And there's a point where diet culture says you can't possibly be hungry, but intuitive eating says, oh, but I am. And that's where listening to your internal cues comes into play. And rather than ignoring them or overriding them, it's important to honor them. So some questions that you're going to want to ask yourself is, okay, what does hunger feel like for me? Hunger feels different for everybody. Sometimes you might feel a growling in your stomach. Maybe you'll get a headache. Maybe you'll feel it in the back of your throat. I know I always feel it in the back of my throat. That's when I know I'm truly hungry right now. And like I said, it's different for everybody. So it's up to you to recognize those signals that your body is sending to you. And number two, another question, am I eating by the clock? Okay, like I said, it's noontime, so now it's lunchtime. Or am I honoring my hunger? Are you eating just because it's noon? Or are you eating because you're actually hungry? Okay? And another question you can ask yourself, am I listening and trusting my body when it tells me it actually needs more fuel? Okay, sometimes you might be feeling a little tired or a little sluggish. You need a little pick-me-up. Sometimes you need a nice healthy snack just to keep you going through the day. That's what your body's trying to tell you, okay? So think about that. Are you ignoring it, or are you listening to it and honoring it? Antoinette, honor, do not ignore. Yes, because that can get you into trouble when you start to ignore those signals. And that's where a lot of us get tripped up, when we ignore these natural signals that our body's trying to tell us, but we're saying, no, I'm just going to ignore you right now. So number two, intuitive eating isn't for you, or it's not working for you, maybe because you don't know when you're full. So rather than not being able to recognize your hunger, maybe you're not able to recognize your fullness. I know a lot of people get tripped up here too. I've been hearing it a lot, even more lately. So maybe some of us grew up with families where you were pressured to eat beyond fullness, like your parents told you have to clean your plate. Okay, maybe you're told you always have to finish your plate. So for some of us, we don't feel full unless we're uncomfortably stuffed, and then we're like, oh, okay, now I'm full, right? So, and two, another thing is, if you've been dieting, it's likely that you're kind of out of touch with those hunger signals, and you're used to relying on counting or counting some sort of points or some kind of numbers. All these numbers are around dieting, right? So, hi Robin, how are you? Thank you for coming on with us. So what I do with my clients, and I even practice myself, is I make sure that I chew my food thoroughly. I have a whole lesson around chewing. You might think it sounds simple and silly, but it's really important for our digestion, for one, and fat storage comes into play here. And, also, trying your best to eat without distractions and eating until you're satisfied but not stuffed, okay? So, I eat until I'm no longer just hungry, and I could eat more, but I know if I do, then I'm gonna feel overly stuffed. So at that point, I know it's time to stop. Okay, that's where I'm feeling my fullness, and I'm honoring that. Okay, so I certainly do. Especially around the holidays. We're all human here. It doesn't mean that I don't trust my body. Because I have overeaten at times, of course. It's like I said, with the holidays, but that's not meaning that I don't trust my body. I certainly trust it to tell me when it's had enough, and I listen because I don't want to feel uncomfortable. Okay, sometimes we are in situations or times where we do eat a little more than what we should have, and that's okay. That's part of intuitive eating. You have to be able to be kind to yourself. Being kind to yourself is part of it, and being patient with yourself. So it's all about loving yourself and loving your body and loving you for who you are and how you are at that very moment. Okay, so say if it's holiday time, and which they're going to be here before we know it. I know it's still summer, but they'll be here before we know it. And it's okay. Don't beat yourself up just because it was the holidays and you enjoyed. That's a time to enjoy, okay? It's not like you eat like that all year long. So think of it that way, all right? So number 3, intuitive eating isn't working for you, maybe because you're intuitive eating to try to lose weight, okay? So you cannot intuitively eat and try to lose weight at the same time when you're first starting, okay? And why is that? Well, if you're craving, say, like a grilled cheese, if this is something that you're just having a craving for, but you feel like a grilled cheese might be a little too much, might be a little too fattening, then, are you going to eat? Are you really going to eat it if you're feeling that way about it? So the reason weight loss has to be placed on the back burner, just for now, just in the beginning, is because it prevents you from being able to actually get in touch with what you actually want to eat. Okay? So that's, again, feeling those internal signals and listening to them and how your body's feeling. So instead of enjoying like a cookie or a piece of cake, you're still making all these food deals and promises in the back of your mind to compensate for eating these forbidden foods. That's diet culture right there. Another example would be, say you ate a bowl of pasta for lunch, but you're craving pizza for dinner. Maybe you feel like this is going to be like too many carbs, all in one day. So you're thinking, all right, I can't do that because all these carbs it's gonna make me gain weight. Well, so now you're refusing to eat the pizza that you're actually craving, and you're gonna say maybe, okay, I'll have a salad instead. That would be a better choice. But what's wrong with having pizza and pasta all in the same day? You have to trust by listening to your body, and your body will come to just a natural weight that it wants to be at when you're eating intuitively, okay? So if you're honoring what I talked about, the 2 before this, if you're honoring your hunger and you're honoring your fullness, you can have that pizza and you can have that pasta, and you're not going to overeat them, because you're going to start eating when you're feeling hungry, just starting to feel hungry, not waiting until you're ravenous so that you gorge yourself. And then you're going to stop at a point to where you feel full, you feel satiated, and you feel satisfied. You're not going to go overboard like you had a binge or something like that, okay? That's where honoring your hunger and fullness come into play. And it takes practice, but you can do it. You do it over and over, you'll get it, okay? It's that simple. And then you can enjoy all these foods that you love. And that's not to say go out and eat junk all the time. You want to make really good, healthy choices just for your health as well. We want to be healthy, right? But you don't have to feel like all of these foods are forbidden or off limits, or you have to keep them out of the house because otherwise you'll go crazy. That's all that diet culture. And it's frustrating and it's stressful, and I don't know why anyone would want to live like that. I used to. That's why I know. And believe me, it was no fun. And this intuitive eating, the weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Let me tell you, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so freeing, and I feel so good, mentally and physically. It's awesome. So let me continue before I get a little too crazy. But number 4, we're on to number 4. Eating, if you're intuitive eating, is it working for you? Maybe because maybe you're still holding back some of those diet beliefs that I was just talking about. Antoinette, life changer. Yes, I know. And I know this girl right here, Antoinette. She is awesome, and I've seen her transformation. You are looking amazing lately, and I know it's not just how you look, but mentally, you're on point. You're awesome, and you've done so well. You've put the work in, and I can tell. I can totally tell. So that makes all the difference, when you stick to something, and then all of a sudden it just becomes so much easier once you do it on a regular basis. So maybe counting carbs or grams of fat and like worrying about meeting your protein intake. You're watching your sugar for weight loss. And it's all part of diet culture. And Antoinette, I love you too. So these are definitely not like, in a lot of ways, like I'm still unlearning some of these messages that I've grown up with them, right? We've all grown up with them, I'm sure. And personally, I'm sure we've all been practicing them for many, many years. I have myself as well, and I still get those voices sometimes, but I'm like, no, I'm going to eat intuitively, and because I like it so much better, and this is how I want to live. So I still fight to push them away sometimes, but I know it's for, the greater good of myself. So, say like, for example, like you don't want to eat like something that's like full fat. You want to get like a low fat version of something or something that's fat free. So what you're doing is like, that's like diet culture right there. So you want to make sure that you're practicing, first of all, self-compassion, and show yourself patience during this process. So if you want something that's like the full fat version, that's okay, but you're not going to gorge yourself on it, right? You're going to eat it until you're feeling good and satiated. You're not going to go overboard, and that's okay. Our body needs fat. We need it for brain function. It's important to make sure that we have fat. So you don't want to be cutting too much fat out of your body or be worried about that. And plus, when you are going for those like fat-free or low-fat versions, a lot of times they have to add something else back in for flavor, because fat tastes good, right? And if they just took out what tastes good, then it's not going to taste so good. And those food manufacturers know that, so they have to put something back in there. So then there's these additives, and there's extra sugar, for one, chemicals and all these additives. But because they're putting in extra sugar because they want to make sure it still tastes really good, what happens is now you're ending up with a product that's higher in calories than it would have to begin with if you just got the full fat version. Okay, so a lot of times you got to be really careful with that. All right, and again, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop it in the comments for me. And number 5, intuitive eating isn't working for you because maybe you're feeling pressured to make some more healthy choices. Maybe you feel like you have to just eat healthy all the time, and that's the only way that you can survive on intuitive eating. Well, intuitive eating was difficult for me at first because I still felt so much pressure to eat, only these healthy foods. And of course I want to be healthy. So, sorry if you can hear that doorbell, it's my dog ringing her doggy doorbell, wanting to come in, but she'll have to wait. So anyway, and especially as a health coach, I'm expected to eat healthy foods, right? People expect that of me. And this one can really trip people up because dieting and health usually are portrayed as, one and the same. So it took me a while to realize that I could be healthy without rules and boundaries around food, okay? So, like, I can be healthy, and even if I didn't eat healthy 100% of the time, so while I know the benefits of all these whole foods that I do absolutely love, there's no denying that, and I think that nutrient density is certainly very, very super important, we need to consider the satisfaction factor, okay? And the role of self-care also, of course, in developing a healthy relationship with food, okay? So something might be really healthy, and honestly, I love all these, like I said, healthy whole foods, and I do find them super satisfying as well, fruits and vegetables and whole grains and things like that. But you want to feel satisfied as well. Like, say if you're feeling like a cookie, have a cookie. If that's what's going to satisfy you in that moment, because if you don't, you're going to continue, like say you have the apple instead, but you're like, I'm gonna have the apple because that's a better choice. But I'm still thinking about that cookie. You know what? Eventually you're gonna go crazy on those cookies. Have it and enjoy it and move on, okay? So that's also the wonderful thing about intuitive eating. So intuitive eating, it's a way to connect with your body. It's a set of tools. It's not a set of rules. So number 6, intuitive eating isn't working for you, maybe because you're not giving yourself unconditional permission to eat. So intuitive eating may not be working for you if you're like denying yourself all these things. Like I just said, if you want the cookie, eat the cookie. It's okay. If you want a brownie, whatever it is, or maybe, you've been trained okay, I can't eat past 7 p.m. or you're not allowing yourself to go have seconds, even though you're still hungry, okay? Or maybe you're not allowing yourself to have popcorn while you're sitting watching a TV show. Okay, these are all things that were focused around diet culture. And there's nothing wrong with any of this, really. There's nothing wrong with it. If you want to go for seconds because you weren't completely satisfied yet, then you should go for seconds. Okay, your body's trying to tell you that. It's like, hey, I wasn't done. I'm still hungry. I still need more fuel. All right? Sometimes you just need maybe 2 more bites of cake, or sometimes maybe you need 2 more slices of cake. But whatever that is, your body's going to tell you. Okay, you don't have to ignore it anymore. And number 7, intuitive eating isn't working for you, maybe because you're carrying around all these limiting beliefs around your body and around food. So I'm about 5'4", and I'm a bit shorter than like most of my family members, but some of the things that you might hear, especially if you're on the shorter side, you might hear things like, oh, you shouldn't eat as much, as your tall friends, or you need to watch what you eat to avoid becoming like too stocky, or you'll gain weight faster because you're not as tall, as taller people. It's harder for short people to lose weight. Short people, need to watch what they eat. All these kinds of things that you might hear. And of course, none of that is actually true. We will all eat the right amounts for our bodies according to our internal signals. So think about it. Like, are you carrying around any of these limiting beliefs regarding food and your body? I'm curious. Let me know. Pop it in the comments for me. I'd love to know your side of things. So number 8, intuitive eating isn't working for you because you're recovering from an eating disorder. And so that's possible too. While some can just slowly ease into intuitive eating, many people in recovery, they need time to work through these food rules, work through the food rules, the hunger and the fullness, and all of these other principles. There's 10 principles of intuitive eating, and there's nothing wrong with this, and it's not a race to the finish line. So my advice to you is, of course, give yourself compassion and patience along the way, okay? It's a journey, and journeys take time, and there's no rush. And if you feel more comfortable with a meal plan and like a bit more structure than intuitive eating, to feel a little safer, then that's totally fine too. It's all about you. You're your own unique person. So whatever's going to work for you, and that's what you do. Okay, number 9, intuitive eating isn't working for you because you're not ready. Maybe you're just not ready for it, and that's okay. It's not easy, but even when I first discovered it, I wasn't ready to hear all these messages that it's been trying to tell me, giving up that fantasy and giving up goals and, chasing like how we've just become conditioned all these rules to believe for so long. So it feels like giving up in a really messed up way, kind of, I guess. And even though like on an intellectual level, you may realize that diets don't work, and you can't continue, just going on that way, you may not just be ready for the next step yet, and that's okay. Take your time and do it when you're ready. Can't be forced. So just know that you can try it at any time when you are ready. It's always there, ready and waiting for you. And number 10, last but not least, intuitive eating, maybe it's not working for you because you're just really stressed out. Okay, if you're really stressed out, to begin with, intuitive eating is probably not going to work right away because there's actually a number of reasons. And if you're stressed out, your hunger and fullness signals, for one, are going to be way out of whack. Okay, they're going to be off balance. It's like short-term stress reduces your appetite, while this like chronic stress, it just tends to kind of increase our appetite. Plus, if you're feeling stressed on a regular basis, it's a sign that you're like unbalanced and you're not taking enough time for self-care. And that means it's possible that your sleep could be compromised, your eating then is compromised, and your movement too gets compromised. They all kind of sync in with one another or become unsynced, depending on what's going on in your life. So, recovery to all of this can be compromised as well. So intuitive eating, it depends on your self-care for survival, really, because that's where it grows from. It's all about self-care and listening to your body and giving it what it needs. So if you are interested in becoming an intuitive eater, but you feel like really overwhelmed, my suggestion to you is to figure out what needs to go and what needs to stay so that your life is easier to manage it. And then you can start implementing some of these intuitive eating principles. Okay? And if you have any questions about intuitive eating or about your own health and weight journey, feel free to reach out at any time. You can message me. Or if you have any questions, you can throw it on my page. You can pop it in the comments, whatever works best for you. And I am doing complimentary consultations if you'd like to dive a little bit deeper into your own health and weight goals. And we can see about taking you from where you are now to where you'd like to go, if that's something you'd like to look further into. So if there's no other questions at the moment, I'm going to hop off. But I hope you all have a very beautiful day, beautiful Friday, happy Friday, and a wonderful weekend. I will be talking to you soon. All right, bye guys.